Hi everyone, this is Darren from SimNation doing a quick recap video on WWPF. I'm kind of overdue for it, but as you can see, we're in the week 11, so the season we're past the midway point of the season, and the playoff picture is starting to really form. So just run through this real quick and give you a quick update of where we are. So if we jump into the standings, let's start on the AFC side. So Pittsburgh is in a pretty good position to make the playoffs. Generally they're in at this point. It's just a matter of are they a 1, 2 seed or a wild card. Really, as you can see from the AFC side of the house, is the teams really competing for that number 1 seed are Pittsburgh, Tennessee, and Oakland. So Tennessee is Bama, Oakland is Peter. Um, this one's going to pretty much go down to the wire. I do want to call out Tennessee, and I'm kind of hesitant to do it because, as some people have said, is anytime I call someone out, I give them a kiss of death. But I do want to say just what a season that Bama's having at Tennessee. It's not like he's knocked off some big names. If we go to schedule and look, what you can see is knocked off New England. This is Shark. Of course, got a win against Kevin in week 1. And then just has had a really good season. Buffalo as a CPU team is not an easy win. Um, for the rest of the way, he's got Prince, he's got Invisible Witness, he's got Bioeagle, and really the rest of CPU teams. So he's going to be in pretty good shape to. I'm sorry, he doesn't have Prince. He already beat Prince. So the Sim will run on Friday, but Carolina is a major test for them. If they get past this, the only team really I think that could hand them a loss is Cleveland, and that's just because Bioeagle and Cleveland are having a pretty good run here. As I mentioned, Bioeagle, they won 7 in a row. They started off 0-3. As you can see, their initial first 3 weeks wasn't exactly easy. They had Oakland and Pittsburgh, who are two of the top teams, but since then they have just been piling it on. They knocked off Shark. They beat Cotton. They beat DWK. Um, they beat oh, sorry, my brain, Superman. Um, and they've taken Cincinnati out twice. They do have some harder games coming up. They get a rematch with Pittsburgh. They have Starfinder. Baltimore is a CPU team, but it's a really hard. And of course, they have Bama with Tennessee. Um, so right now, these are the three teams. Right now, I kind of like Oakland and Tennessee for those seeds, only because I think that their schedule is a little bit more straightforward. Oakland, of course, is coming off knocking off LA. They've got some quality wins as well, and of course, their one loss was the Pittsburgh in week 1. Week 1's always hard for anyone because you don't know what people are going to be doing. San Francisco will be one of the big games for them, but after that, I like Peter's chances, which is one of the reasons why I think that him and Bama are going to have a little bit more straightforward shot at getting the 1 and 2 seed. If we look at Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh's remaining games are against Green Bay. That's DWK. And Cleveland. I like Cleveland right now. I think they're really hot. I think that they could beat Pittsburgh. Again, Pittsburgh, if they win out and only lose to Cleveland, they still have a game in hand on Oakland. So right now, the way it's trending is these three teams are competing for the 1 and 2 seed. New England and New York and Miami are still competing for the East Division, and then Houston and Cleveland are really competing for those wild card spots. So great job with Bioeagle. I mean, just is doing really good. McKnight is having a really good season as a, I think he's a rookie or he's a second year player. Yeah, he's a second year player. He's managed to stay healthy, and I think that that is what's helped funneling a lot of the success that Bioeagle's seeing. Baltimore, Cincinnati, I believe, are really. Cincinnati's probably playing for a top draft pick, so is Indianapolis. Houston, Jacksonville, and Indianapolis are CPU teams, so if you're interested, these would be good teams to take. Buffalo's also a CPU team. I kind of had said that they would win this division, but it's looking more and more like it's going to be potentially Shark. But Shark still can't speak enough about what Kevin's doing in New York. He's really starting to get that team turned around and getting them to play his style of football. So I do like. I don't think New York will make the playoffs this year because I think both Cleveland and Houston have a straight line. But I even if they come in at like 9-7, 10-6, it's really a good season for Kevin. He's had to deal with a lot of cap issues from the previous owner, and he's really turned that roster around. But I still like New England. I think for the rest of the way, New England's probably going to be the odds-on favorite to win it. But again, as you can see, New York and Miami have a lot to say about that. I don't see anyone getting in the path of Peter at Oakland. He's going to win the West, especially given the standings right now. Uh, Pretty harsh season for Prince at Denver, but he'll bounce back. Joe Durman has San Diego. Uh, we'll see how that kind of plays out. He's lost three in a row, but again, you can turn that around pretty relatively easy. I just don't see them making the playoffs. In the NFC, of course, the big story here is LA was on fire and they've now lost three in a row. Kind of what's catching up to them is the defensive issues that they've had. As you can see, they're still scoring a lot of points, right? 45 here, 31 here, 36 here. It's just the defense has been letting them down, and that's been a pretty decent storyline for them in general. I do expect Barry to get this righted pretty quick. And once he gets it righted, they should be in pretty good shape. But as you can see, Arizona and San Francisco have caught up. Arizona winning two in a row. Of course, Arizona is Simon. San Francisco is Stuart. Stewart's on a four-game winning streak. As you can see here, he's winning emphatically in most cases. A lot of this has to do with Asa as well as his running game. So it'll be interesting to see if he can keep the winning streak alive. I probably just jinxed him. But Simon is having a really spectacular season as well. Uh, no, I think Templar is finally starting to distance himself from the rest of the pack with three straight wins at Dallas. Um, so right now it's looking like Dallas will win the East. But I still think that the wild card, I'm sorry, the 1 and 2 seed is going to come down to between Carolina and one of the West teams. Um, Atlanta's in the playoff picture. New Orleans and Tampa Bay have kind of dropped out. Detroit, the North is pretty wide open. It's really between Superman and DWK. I don't see Cotton getting in there. Minnesota's on a two-game winning streak. It's probably too little too late. Um, but we'll see how that plays out for Starfinder. Again, I think him just trying to get back to a reasonable record would be his primary goal. If we look at Superman, he's of course on a three-game losing streak. But when you look at those three teams, you have the hottest team in the AFC right now, or one of the hottest teams. You have a really hard CPU team to get past in Baltimore, and then of course you have Pittsburgh. As you can see, McDougal's having a pretty good season so far. The rest of the way, I think that Detroit has a harder schedule than potentially DWK does. They do have Carolina. They have Minnesota, who's kind of catching fire right now, but they still have Chicago. Uh, I may have actually misstated. It may be Green Bay that has the harder of the two schedules. But as you can see, DWK, um, he's winning and losing, but he lost to Cleveland, who's hot, beat Baltimore, lost the division game to Detroit. But Green Bay has a little bit harder schedule because they have still Pittsburgh up. They did lose to Dallas, and they got to play Atlanta, who's hot right now. So um, Detroit kind of has the better path to it. So if I had to guess right now in the NFC, I think Carolina is a clear number one seed. I do think that as soon as Barry gets LA righted defensively, he probably will be the two seed, but I can't really call that right now because both Arizona and San Francisco are hot, whereas LA's defense is really hurting them right now. So we'll be able to, I think the two seed will come out of the West. In the East, I like how Dallas is playing with Templar, so good job, though, dude. And then I think that really Detroit or Green Bay will probably be the lone representative in the playoffs from the North. And right now, I think Detroit has a clearer line to the playoffs than Green Bay does, but we'll see how that plays out. So Carolina, one of the West teams, will be the 1 and 2 seed. Dallas will be probably the 3 seed. Detroit will probably be the 4 seed. And then it'll be a toss up between Arizona, San Francisco, and Atlanta for who lands the wild cards. Uh, and then on the AFC side, I think it's really between Pittsburgh, Tennessee, and Oakland for the 1 and 2 seed. New England right now is looking like they could potentially win the East, but that one's still too close to call. I think Houston and Cleveland have the clearest paths into making the playoffs out of there. Um, Standings wise, I'm sorry, league leader wise, Marcus Witten is continuing to have a really good season. You can see on the NFC side, you have the top 2 quarterbacks. Timothy Campbell's having a really good season for Carolina, helping to drive that. It's good to see Invisible have a quarterback who's producing for him again. Witten leads the league in passing touchdowns, but as Peter would probably say, is he throws a lot more passes than Adam Johnson does. So Adam Johnson is in second. Passing rating wise, you can see Witten is still up there with Schaefer, who's one of the reasons why Tennessee's playing so well. Rushing yards right now, it's a battle between Laney and Church. You could see these other guys jump in there, though. It's really hard to watch because in the past it's been largely Ford and Lackey, but both of them have gotten old. Um, but Church and Laney should be an interesting one to watch. I'd throw McDougal in there for just good measure. Rushing touchdown wise, again, Carolina, they have a really good goal line back end, Maurice Edwards. So he's having a really good season. Receiving, no shock here with who's up at the top. Keep an eye on Desmond, though. I do like him to probably get past Floyd Hammond and Benjamin Culp. If you are interested in a good CPU team, both New York Giants and Baltimore Ravens are good CPU teams, so is Indianapolis. But this one's still a little bit too close to call. Bittner would probably be having a better season if Des Moines wasn't around, but Bittner's still someone to keep an eye on. And you see Des Moines scores a lot of touchdowns, so does Bittner. So um, that's probably the category that matters more than receiving yards. Tackle wise, Willis Thornton's having a great season. So is Harold Bird and Nicholas Albertson. This is one of the few seasons where I think I've seen a lot of our human teams actually have people up there. Sack wise, nobody's going to catch Dustin Sousa. Sousa wins this every year. I don't think it's going to change. Baxley's giving him a run for his money, so is Dayton. I think Dayton's a rookie, if I remember correctly. Uh, could be. No, he's not. He's been around for a while. But don't expect much to change there. Sousa should win that, and then it's pretty wide open for the interception title. So that's kind of where we're at. That's kind of where I think we're going to be. I do think that when the season ends right now, the 1 and 2 seed in the AFC will be either Pittsburgh, Tennessee, or Oakland. Cleveland and Houston should be the wild cards. Still too close to call in the East. Kevin's making some noise. So was still in the mix of it. And then Shark right now is the leader. In the NFC, I think it's really between Carolina and a team from the West. Dallas could surprise though, but I think Dallas has pretty much maneuvered themselves into where they can win the East, and then it's really between Detroit and Green Bay for who wins the North. Right now, I think Detroit has the inside track. So that's it for now. Hopefully, you like this video. If you want to join this league, it's a really good league to join. We have a lot of good coaches. I mentioned a couple of the teams. Just real quick, looking at the Week 12 matchups, I think Detroit will beat Cincinnati. Pittsburgh should beat Green Bay. Cleveland's hot right now. I like them over Minnesota, even though Minnesota's somewhat hot. Tennessee Carolina's be a really good game. Too close to call in my eyes. We'll see how that one plays out. Houston versus Tampa Bay. I like Tampa Bay in this one. Dallas should beat Buffalo. Buffalo's on a little bit of a losing tail. New York versus New England. I like New England in this one. New York versus Philadelphia. I like New York in that one. Washington, Miami. I think Washington wins this one. Arizona versus Denver. I like Arizona over Denver. Oakland versus San Francisco. This will probably be, if it wasn't for Carolina, Tennessee, this would be the game of the week. I think Peter's going to beat San Francisco. Seattle versus San Diego. Seattle is positioning themselves. This is Bobby, if I remember correctly. I didn't mean to do that, but uh, I like Seattle over San Diego, Atlanta over Jacksonville, and then New Orleans over Indianapolis. So have a good week. I'll try to do these a little bit more often because we're getting closer to the playoffs. But if you're interested in joining, just join our Discord and shoot me a note, and the links are on the video. Thanks.